Bear down, Bears fans. We're going to get into the latest press conferences from the Chicago Bears today. Talk about some improvements that the Bears can make heading into Minnesota from the Giants game and break down N'Keal Harry working his way back from IR and Cody Whitehair going to IR. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel to talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Got to go out to the press conferences for Matt Eburflus and Justin Fields today. But before we do that, we do want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Bird Dog Whiskey, the most awarded flavored whiskey on the market. They are a supporter of the Windy City Breeze. So make sure to support us and them by checking the link in the description below. As we're getting started here, first off, how you guys doing today? Appreciate you guys for showing love to the channel. If you haven't hit that like button, do that. Had Bulls last night, right? A lot of excitement around the Chicago Bulls, but we've still got to get into our Bears. We still got to break down what this team is. We still got to break down what we're seeing from this team. And I mean, listen, a tough loss versus a team that was very beatable in the Giants, right? You end up losing Cody Whitehair, and now we see Cody Whitehair going to IR. So that could be an issue for the team as well. We're going to talk about kind of where we see this offensive line going. Do we see them being able to make improvements, or is this going to be a major step back for them? I mean, it's tough to say it's going to be a major step back with the way that we've seen them play to this point, right? But it is a deterrent in your run blocking game. Let's go out to Coach Flus and hear what Coach Flus had to say kind of about Whitehair, the whole injury situation, bringing N'Keal Harry back, and just kind of the things that they're working on heading into this week.
To our practice squad, Cody Whitehair is going to short-term IR. We're going to start a 21-day window for N'Keal Harry today. He's going to be going through individual, and moving around there, and then getting back with the strength staff after that. And then I think that's all I have. So today we outlined our game plan and our for the Minnesota Vikings relative to the entire game plan, but really the first and second down stuff that we do on Wednesday, and just had a nice walkthrough out there. Obviously, it's a beautiful day, so we're going to be getting after it. We're going to take our pads off after we do punt today, just as for keep the guys fresh. So we'll go all the way through punt team, individual punt team to get the rushes there, and then we'll go take the pads off and go to shells from that point. Very similar schedule to last week, a little bit shorter. We knocked off 15 minutes for this practice, and then about 15 minutes on tomorrow's practice as well to get the guys fresh for Sunday. But from there, open to questions.
Man, are you hopeful for N'Keal Harry playing Sunday, or is that unrealistic?
We'll have to wait and see where he is. If he's doing well, there's potentially that. But again, it's 21 days. We'll figure that out as we go. But we like where he is right now for sure.
Man, as an extension of that, if everything physically looks normal to you, what's the reasonable amount of time that it takes a guy to catch up with timing, he obviously didn't practice a lot in training camp and isn't up to speed with some of the
I think you got to evaluate that as it goes. For me to say, hey, it takes 14 days or 17 days, I think it would be unfair. So it could take less than that. I don't know. But we'll see how he picks it up. I know he's been engaged, in the meetings and engaged in the game plans as we've been going. So that's been great, and we'll see where it goes.
You said you like where he
between Harry being able to come back after being gone and a rookie like Bayless
being able to get in on offensive stuff when he's been gone?
I think it's on a case-to-case basis, based on the person, based on the player, really.
You said you like where he is right now. Where is he right now? What can he do right now that
really just in terms of his movement. He's been working with the strength staff, getting ready to go, off to the side, and now we're going to see him actually working individual. So that's a positive thing, just in terms of his movement where he is right now.
What were you guys envisioning for him when you had him back when he was healthy and he was really part of things? I mean, how central to the plan, was he?
No, I mean, obviously when you have a big-bodied receiver like that, that's, open and got a good catch radius and can big body guys, that's an important thing to have. In situational football, third down and red zone, those are all, important things to look at when you're looking at catchers. And he certainly has that.
Do you still think that Cody's injury is not season-ending?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, with Jefferson, without giving away scheme or strategy, what are the biggest challenges you face as a staff in trying to determine how much attention to pay to him with an offense that can hurt you in other ways too?
Yeah, that's, when you got a team that has two good runners, really good runners that are good, really good players, and then the action off of that, then you have another receiver on the other side. Then you're dealing with a number one Jefferson, that's obviously a big issue, and that's always something that you have to weigh. Are you going to do certain things to double and stop and get guys underneath and all the things that you do to a number one receiver? So it's always a balance. It's always a balance. I think you got to pick and choose when you do it, but you have to do it for sure.
Specifically in the run defense, do you want to see things improve so that Dalvin Cook doesn't do what Saquon Barkley did?
Yeah, just consistency. Just consistency of our technique. When we've had good defenses in the past that have been top five, number one in run defense, that's what we've done. We've had guys where they're supposed to be. They're violent. They play with good technique, and that's where we're working to. And we certainly have a lot of work to do.
Are there more?
The majority of the players in Minnesota have been there longer than this new staff. Do you have to, I guess, look back at older film to know what the running group is capable of? Because they're not running the ball the same with the same philosophy the way that they did it in previous seasons. Do you have to kind of look back at history versus now, knowing what all they could do to attack this team?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of things. You have to certainly look at where Kevin's from. Obviously, the Rams system. You look at that. You look at past tape because you're looking at players, like the center or whoever that is that's been in there in the past, and the running style of the runners. I think you have to look at it all. But whenever you're looking at a scheme, you got 4 games in now, so this is what these people are comfortable doing. Certainly they're going to change it, with motions, shifts, formations, like everybody does. But they're starting to hone in what they like.
Are there more good receivers now than there have been in the past?
And if so, what?
General?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Just because I think the college game, the way it is, I think everybody's been playing receiver. I think as a young age, they come up playing receiver, and, you're sitting there and you're a guy that's in grade school, hey, you want to play receiver or defensive back, and which one did you choose, so. But those guys are getting drafted high now. I mean, it's a premium position for sure, and it's an impactful position.
Matt, with concussions in the news after the Tua injury last week, were there additional conversations over the weekend or this week between coaches and staff and players just about being, more cautious with diagnosing those, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's terrible what happened, but we're always mindful of that, of us guys, with Justin to slide early and do things like that and protect himself, and he's done a decent job with that. Certainly we're always concerned when he gets on the edge and making sure he protects himself, but it's always an issue. We want to do a good job on our defense to make sure we're not doing and committing those fouls. We want to be clean. We don't ever want to give them 15 yards, and we certainly don't want to ever hurt anybody. So we want to do a good job with that as well as coaching on our whole team.
Coach, with all due respect to the Texans and the Giants, is there a greater sense of urgency to get Jalen back this week, considering the offensive firepower that you're facing?
Yeah, anytime you can get a good player like that back, that can cover really well, that would be good, if we can get that done. So we're again, he's day by day. We'll see where it is, but we'll see.
Another question for you about N'Keal Harry. I mean, is he unique on this roster? Do you have anyone else at receiver that can do what he does, or is that a new element that you'd be adding into the passing game?
No, I think he is unique. I think he is. I think all the guys are. Everybody's got a different skill set. Everybody, runs differently. Everybody gets open differently. And I think he's got a unique skill set. Like we said, he's a big body guy that's open like a tight end. You know, tight ends are typically open because they got smaller guys covering them. Their catch radius is there. They can big body guys. They can use their radius to be able to stay open and keep open. So I think he has all that.
Justin, how do you balance when it's appropriate to run versus when it's appropriate to pass, especially when he can be so successful running? But I imagine that, you know, there were a couple instances the other day where if he had thrown it, it would have been a bigger gain. How do you talk to him about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I just think it's on a clock. You know, you're back there on a clock, and you know when the timing and the rhythm is of that particular pass play. And then when it's not there, he just uses his legs. You know, if he has it. You know, and he's done that to you know, good. You know, he's done it really well. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that.
You've often come in here on Fridays and talked about really good red zone practices and that sort of thing. Is there something you're seeing that maybe isn't translating from what they're able to do on the practice field and then what isn't able to be?
Yeah, we just certainly have to improve on that. You know, it's about scoring. This league's about scoring touchdowns, and you know, defensively we're doing okay right now, but offensively we need to improve that percentage. But again, the practices just have to translate. You know, it's been good red zone practices. We got good schemes down there, and you know, it just has to translate to the game now.
What needs to improve with your wide receivers as you've studied the tape? You know, Mooney, St. Brown, Pettis. What do you need to see improvement on from those guys?
Yeah, I would just say continued improvement on the rhythm and timing of it. You know, we got Mooney going last week. You know, St. Brown's been, you know, has done a good job to this point. We just got to continue the whole group. You know, really just the rhythm and timing of the passing game. And I think it's improving. You know, I see it in practice. I know we saw glimpses of it last week. So it's a work in progress, but it's improving.
Matt, why do you think Eddie's hitting a stride right now, or do you see him hitting a stride?
Yeah, he's hitting his stride. He has played really well over the first 4 games. And really, I go back to what I think I said a couple weeks ago about his training camp. Man, he worked. He never missed a day. I think if he did, I don't remember. But he is in his best shape of his life. He really bought into it. He's taking great angles. He's tackling well. He's obviously ball hawking, you know, understands the big part of the field there. He blitzed well the other day, you know, so he's doing everything he asks his safety to do. And he's been a nice thing to see for me, you know, from just working with him. It's been a joy.
Is there anything for
Yeah.
Is that more on him, is that instinctual by him, or is that more you guys have a call, like to move him up there?
Yeah, I saw him do some of that last year. He was down a little bit last year and made some plays on the line. So I think he's good at that. He's an all-around safety to me. You know, he can play the deep part of the field, come down and blitz. We saw that, and also he can play close to the line of scrimmage. And he's really good at manning. You know, he manned that receiver. We had that pressure last week. He manned the receiver, had, you know, poised through the down and ended up breaking that pass up. So he can do a lot of things.
How have you seen Cousins perform in this new system that they're in?
It's very similar to the last system he was in. I know the verbiage is different, and you know it's a different, you know, style. But you know, in terms of the wide zone and the play action and the basic tree, it's really the same, coming from the same tree. So I don't think it's that far different for him.
Well, in general, when you have a particular player on your defense that's just struggling a little bit, do you conceptually do things as a collective to try and help that player, or do you just encourage that player to get better individually?
I think you got to do both. You know, if you can do some things to help that guy, if he is, you can help him with coverage. You can help him with, if it's a defensive lineman, you can help him with his technique. But I think it's both. You got to help guys the best way you can as a coach.
That was Coach Flus breaking down what he's got going on to get prepared for Sunday versus the Minnesota Vikings. You got a very tough matchup, especially for this Bears team who struggled against the run defense, or who struggled to play really good run defense, right? And so you're going up against one of the teams that are one of the better running teams in the NFL, have one of the better running backs in the NFL. So there's a lot that's going to go into Sunday, right? Got a little bit of news on Cody Whitehair there coming out of, and I think that's one thing, right, that you really have to focus in on, because that is important. That's really important that the Bears lost Cody Whitehair. That's a big loss for this team, because to me, right, like, I think you're talking about a player that while, yeah, he may not be the end all be all, he may not be the best left guard in the NFL, right? He's solid. He's a solid piece at that position. He's a piece at that position that you can feel good about. He's a piece at that position that, to me, you can feel like, okay, we're moving in, or we have a consistent line, and we have veterans on that line that are going to be able to make plays, right? Like, that's kind of what it comes down to me. And that's why I really like the fact that the Bears had a veteran guy like Cody Whitehair in there. Now, with all the offensive line flux that they've already had, right, all the issues that they've already talked about, all of the problems that have already gone into what the Bears are doing currently at the offensive line, you got to look at it and say, that's a big loss for the Chicago Bears team, because now you still have that flux that's there, right? But we still have that. We don't know why they don't like Tevin Jenkins. I've watched Tevin Jenkins tape. You guys have watched Tevin Jenkins tape. We've all watched Tevin Jenkins tape to this point. We're trying to figure out what he's doing wrong, because to me, even when he got in the game, even after being benched, he still looked like the best offensive lineman on the field. And guess what? Talent-wise, we've heard that he's the best offensive lineman that's currently on this team, and yet he's the one that continues to go further and further down the depth chart. He's going to be he didn't even start, right? You had Lucas Patrick starting at right guard all until Cody Whitehair gets hurt, goes on the IR, then he moves over to left guard. And you have to bring in Tevin Jenkins at that right guard position. You already had enough issues there that this Cody Whitehair thing, while, talent-wise, it may not end up being a big loss, right? Lucas Patrick, while he did struggle at that left guard position woefully, if you go back and watch the All-22, he was getting manhandled, basically. I don't know if it's because of the hand issue. I don't know I don't know why, but you can just tell, right, that Tevin Jenkins is the best offensive lineman out there. And if you don't have him out there, that's going to create, or if you don't have Cody Whitehair out there, it's going to create even more issues, because now Tevin's back in the starting lineup anyway, right? So there's so many question marks with this offensive line, especially in pass pro. And you're going up against a Vikings team that's going to try to get after you. They're going to try to get back there. We've seen every team do it every week. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to put 8 in the box. We're going to put 9 in the box. You know why? Because there's nothing you can do to stop that pressure coming. And all the Bears have done lately has been run straight into that pressure. Keep just going forward, just try and push through. Which, listen, in some games, it was fine. Versus the Packers, versus their 8-man front, we were still getting 8.9 yards a carry, right? Like, there was still some good that went into that. But last week, right, versus the Giants, you saw it, and it wasn't working out in the Bears' favor. And so Flus has a lot on his plate coming into this week, especially just the offensive line, especially protecting your young quarterback. And I think the thing that you saw was just, listen, you're now at a point, right, where I don't think Lucas Patrick is actually as bad as he looked in the game. I think he was put in a little bit of a different position, but Sam Mustipher's awful. He's awful. He's bad at his job. There's no way to say it. Multiple weeks in a row. We saw this last week. If I'm going to be nice, he's a backup. And that's being very nice. He's a backup center. And that's being very nice. He's your 6th offensive lineman. And I'm going to be real with you. I'd have been fine with keeping Schofield or one of those guys over him, right? And so it's one of those things to me where it's like, listen, I want to see the Bears do more with the line. I think Braxton Jones, when you go into the draft, right, I think he's a pretty good player, but I think when you go into the draft, you just kind of have to deal with some of those bugs that come with it. Guess what? You're going to have young guys that have to take time to develop. Braxton Jones has had some ups and downs out there, but the problem is he hasn't been the worst, right? Like, if he was the worst left tackle out there, I'd be like, or if he was the worst player on that offensive line, I'd be like, well, he's a rookie. That makes sense. But the veteran guys have been the worst. Sam Mustipher has been the worst, right? Like, Larry Borum's had some ups and downs out there. So I think, to me, right, the Bears have to figure out this offensive line first and foremost, and it only gives you one of two options to me. You have to either say, there's going to be some lumps here, Justin. You're going to have to take some lumps. We want you to drop back. We're going to try and set some things up for you to drop back. We're going to have Cole in there. We're going to play max protect. We're going to do everything we can to keep you as protected as possible and see if you can pass the ball. Or you try and go with what works. At a minimum, I think if you're gonna go pass at all, and I don't understand Luke Getsy's kind of like what chagrin, is that the right word? I don't understand his off-putting attitude towards having Justin under center. Like, anytime Justin's under center, right, it's the only time you get to see that I formation. It's the only time you get to see blazing game in the game. It's the only time, right? Like, I think those are the play action plays you really want to work, especially with a struggling offensive line. You want as many guys in there protecting Justin as possible. And yeah, under center, while your center is pretty terrible and it may not help you, shotgun might help you a little bit more in that situation. I think it offers a little bit more room for a little bit of confusion. It offers a little bit more room for a little bit more surprise, right? If he's in shotgun, excuse me, if Justin is in shotgun and he goes play action and the center falls down, it doesn't matter. But if he's under center, you go back, you turn around, maybe Sam Mustipher doesn't hold up his block like I kind of expect him to. Blazing game's right there, gives you a little chip, allows Justin to use the legs, get a little bit more away, right? Like, you're adding blockers into the situation to help you out. And you're able to go into that I formation and have a little bit more trickery. I don't think the Bears, and I'm not saying I want too much. I don't want Matt Nagy back in here, right? Like, let's play football simple here. I like the fact that the Bears are able to run. But, and I want the Bears to continue to run because it's the only thing the offensive line is good at. But you do have to figure out kind of how to get Justin those 20 to 25 passes like I talked about. You have to protect him for him to have those, right? Like, he got 22 passes off. He got 9 knockdowns Sunday. 6 pressures allowed by Sam Mustipher alone, and he got sacked 6 times. Like, that's not your recipe for success. The one thing that you don't want to do, and we kind of saw it start to happen, right, is now you got Justin out there seeing ghosts. Now you got Justin out there, drop back, snap the ball. Pocket's okay, but he feels like the pocket's going to collapse because the pocket's been collapsing on him all day. So guess what? He takes off. Yeah, he does get a gain. He does make it happen, but it's tough for, and I love this, right? Like, all of the quarterback whisperers out there that now have access to the All-22, all of the quarterback gurus out there that now are looking at the All-22, and they're just like, Justin, you have to remain in that pocket. Well, you're not sitting there taking the 7 hits that came before that when you're saying he has to remain in that pocket, right? That's the part to me that you have to adjust your thinking on. Yeah, Justin, I would love to see Justin hang in that pocket, but I understand why he's getting the heck out of there. Because that offensive line hasn't held up. And so, again, the loss of Cody Whitehair is going to be big. Now, getting N'Keal Harry back, I think that helps this team a lot if he can come in and be the player that New England hoped he was when they drafted him. There's still a lot of ifs on that. This team is built on questions. This entire season is going to be questions, question marks, question marks, question marks. The thing that you want to see, yeah, I want to see N'Keal Harry come out off of IR and kill it, and hopefully he is able to get back Sunday. Again, it's a 21-day process, which Flus was talking about. Basically, they're going to work him back in over the course of 21 days. If he's ready to go, they'll put him out there. If he's not ready to go, they won't. You know what I'm saying? But there's a 21-day process that kind of goes into it. I would love to see N'Keal Harry out there for this game, but I don't know how this is going to go. But I think the thing is, right, you almost want to kind of like, I don't want to over prepare. If he's healthy enough to go, if he feels good, right, that's the most important thing. But I think that's one where you just want to get a guy out there that can play. You don't want to over prepare to me because in my opinion, right, that's the moment where you can see if there is a connection, if there is a spark, if Justin is able to find that guy right. N'Keal Harry, very quick, big body guy. He's going to be able to get out there and get big on smaller DBs, right? Like, that's the big body that you hope that you needed, and you hope that trade works out. Granted, you only said the 6 for it. It's fine. It's not the end of the world, but you hope that that's a trade that works out for you in the end, because that would be a great asset to the rest of this season. But here's the problem. Again, we're back to the offensive line. Doesn't help you if Justin's on his back. The one thing that I like about N'Keal Harry is the speed, the size, the ability to get open. All of that makes a big difference, because now maybe it takes a little bit of pressure off of Darnell Mooney. Even he's able to do something. And if that line does break down, Justin is a superior athlete. Justin is a great player. Yes, we saw that line break down consistently in New York. But guess what? Justin rolling out, missing pressure. He's trying to find guys, but he can't find anybody that can hold on to the football. And with all that said, I think the passing game played better. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's something to really key in on, that whenever we do get N'Keal Harry back, and maybe it won't be this week, right? Like you try to bring guys back on a week where they have their best chance of being successful. And I just don't see that being this week against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Vikings are a team that the Bears seem to play really well whenever they play them, but this is a very different Bears team. But just looking at the Bears schedule, right, might hold them out versus the Vikings. They said 21 days, right? Hold them out versus the Vikings, hold them out versus the Commanders. Guess what? 21 days would put you at Monday Night Football versus the New England Patriots, his former team. You know that's probably what they're eyeballing there. You want to get the emotions involved. You want to get the best play out of them that you can. You know what I'm saying? And that's a couple of weeks. And here's the thing. At this point, now you're talking about, okay, they have no choice. You can hate Cody, or you can hate Tevin Jenkins all you want. He's got to be out there. So you've at least got a solid player at your right guard position moving forward. I think that helps Borum out there at right tackle a little bit more. Your center, it's bad. We need to get to the point where Lucas Patrick can snap the ball. I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm hoping that we're still moving in the right direction for that, but he needs to be your set. We saw him snapping. Right? Like, there's no way. And that's the weird part to me, too. And the evaluation from some of the coaching staff, right? Like, we've seen him snapping. We've seen him on the field doing things that a center would do, but the coaching staff is sticking with Sam Mustipher. There's no way you're looking at Sam Mustipher in practice and on the field and saying, no, he's got it. Like, what are you seeing? There's no way, right? Like, so I don't know. But the offensive line, that's going to be a major issue. I think the biggest thing is, right, you want to see N'Keal Harry come back at a time where maybe he's able to just kind of put his emotions into the game a little bit more and just attack. Maybe you want to get him back in the game early, but you got a couple of nice defenses coming up over the next couple of weeks with Washington and with Minnesota, and they can put you in a real bad position real quick, right? Like, we could be talking about, we're 2-2 right now. I believe I picked us to lose to Minnesota. I'm kind of sticking with that, unfortunately, heading into the week. I don't think that I saw enough out of this Bears defense to feel good about them stopping Dalvin Cook in the slightest. I mean, let's be 110% honest about this defense that we're seeing, right? Even in our wins, they have been gashed by the run. Week 1, 176 yards to the San Francisco 49ers. By the way, they lost their top running back in that game. Week 2, 203 yards allowed for the Green Bay Packers, who were basically just like, we're going to kill you with the dual threat of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Oh, by the way, week 3, this is your best week of the entire season. 92 rushing yards given up to the Houston Texans. That's still a lot of rushing yards. We've just given up so many rushing yards outside of that it doesn't feel like that much. And then, of course, right, last week to Saquon Barkley, the Bears gave up 262 rushing yards. Not to Saquon specifically, but just in general. So the Bears, I have no faith coming into this week that you're going to slow down Dalvin Cook. I have no faith coming into this week. That front seven has been atrocious at getting into the backfield. The Bears have been really bad at containing the edges. The Bears have been really bad at tackling in general, right? Like, I will say the one thing that killed you last week was the play action, where Daniel Jones literally was just doing the quarterback keeper and keeping it. I understand that a little bit more, no matter who's got the ball. And yes, it does suck to see. Yes, it does suck when guys are able to get that off. But let's be real, right? And we experienced this Chicago. No matter who's got the ball, you're paying attention to the big name running back. I don't care how many times Danny Dimes has the ball running around, all that, you're paying attention to Saquon Barkley, because he's the guy that you know can destroy you every single play, so that you're going to pay attention to Saquon. That's why Danny Dimes had that opportunity. Why wasn't there a spy on him? Because your best player that has to watch Saquon would also have to be the spy for Danny Dimes, right? Like, so it's one of those things to me where I understand the struggle that the Bears went through last week. Doesn't excuse giving up 262 rushing yards, but I get, right, like, why they were focused on Saquon more than they were on Daniel Jones. Coming into this week, though, There's no faith in to me that you're going to be able to slow down the run, and that's what makes Kirk Cousins the most dangerous. Kirk Cousins is his most dangerous when his running game is working, because he gets to stand back there and just, okay, the running game's working, you're focused on that, I can just throw this in here and get the job done, right? Like, now the only feather in the Bears cap right now, I guess a couple of feathers in the Bears cap right now, at least defensively, that you feel. Roquan Smith looks like he's making 1 million tackles every week, so that's good to see. And Eddie Jackson seems like he's back. Eddie Jackson, what he's got? He's got 1 forced fumble. He's got 4 interceptions through 5 weeks of football. Definitely feels like Eddie Jackson's back to being a ball hawk. To me, that says a lot about what Jaquan Brisker brings to the field. I'm not mad. Brisker's going to have his ups and downs. Kyler Gordon's got to be much, much, much better. Him and Bill Dora doing the Spider-Man meme out here where they just pointing at each other. And I think the other thing is, right, you're really just hoping that you can get Jalen Johnson back versus Justin Jefferson. Otherwise, it's going to be a long week for you in Minnesota. And I think it might be a long week even if Jalen Johnson is back. So there's a lot to look to with this Bears team that brings you a little bit of concern as you're getting ready to finish out this season, right? Like, or finish out this season. We're halfway through. As you're getting ready to finish out this week, heading to Minnesota. So hopefully the Bears are able to kind of figure it out, man. Hopefully Justin Fields. I like the direction that the passing game went in, and we can hear from Justin Fields as well, because he talked at the podium today as well, kind of about the passing game, and Justin's very like, I'm just doing my job. It definitely feels like he's just trying to bide his time until he's able to get the pieces on the team that he feels confident about. So we'll listen in on Justin Fields' press conference. But before we do that, man, do want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by Bird Dog Whiskey, most awarded flavored whiskey and official drink of the Windy City Breeze. In 2010, Bird Dog pioneered the flavored whiskey category. Since that time, Bird Dog has been upholding and trailblazing the space year after year. Me and Kid have personally enjoyed the peach flavor while watching the Chicago Bears win, lose, or draw, and we want you to be able to do the same. So check the link in the description below to see where you can buy your favorite flavors of Bird Dog whiskey. And I'm telling you, man, they got some great flavors up there. I love the apple. I'm a big fan of the peanut butter, actually, and I'm not a fan of peanut butter whiskey like that. I'm a big fan of Bird Dogs. The peach is probably my favorite. It's probably my go-to if I'm going to get anything. But I'm, like I said, major fan of Bird Dog whiskey, and appreciate them for supporting the Windy City Breeze. So make sure that you guys support me and Bird Dog by checking the link in the description below, clicking on that link, and going out there and grabbing you a bottle, man. Appreciate you guys for showing love. Let's listen in on Justin Fields. He had a press conference today as well, breaking down kind of what he's expecting going into Minnesota, and just talking about where this offense is.
Justin, what needs to happen to get more red zone success for you guys offensively?
I mean, I think this past week was the only week we really didn't do what we wanted to do in the red zone, but just execution from everybody on the offense, and that's basically it. Once we get that, then we'll be good.
You had gone like 20 plays without throwing in the red zone. How do you make sense of that? I think you threw on your first red zone play of the season, and I think it was like 22 runs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that?
Doing my job. About it.
What would the addition of a big body receiver like N'Keal Harry do for you to know that you have that as an option?
Yeah, he would of course be a good matchup versus smaller DBs. One-on-one, especially red zone. Just throwing up a jump ball to him. That's one of the things he does really well. So just being able to just throw up more 50-50 balls.
What's a process for you with him in the coming days and maybe coming weeks of just trying to accelerate getting back on the timing and feeling him out? It's been 2+ months since you've been throwing to him.
Yeah, just reps. Communicating with him, how he runs routes. What I'm thinking on certain leverages of DBs and stuff like that. So basically just reps and just being on the same page as him.
How much did you and him establish during the short time that you guys did have working together?
A good bit.
And does he add something in the sense that because of his size, you can always throw to him no matter how covered he is, and just expect that he can use his body to?
Yeah, I mean he has a bigger frame, so you can definitely he can definitely block off some DBs from the backside.
been satisfied with your decisions on when to scramble or versus when to throw in general?
I mean, you know, for the most part, I mean, sometimes, you know, you're going to have guys open. Sometimes, you know, you're not going to make the, perfect decision every time. And, you know, you just got to live by that and just move on to the next play.
The fact that you've been so successful scrambling, does that affect your decision-making at all in short?
I try not to make it too, you know, so do my reads, and, you know, if I need to get out of the pocket, just get out of the pocket.
Is that hard with human nature, knowing that, you know, if you are running at a pretty good clip, to not pull it down there?
I mean, no, not really. I think every play is different, so, you know, just evaluating each play. You know, if it's a certain play and, you know, guys aren't there, of course, and I'm going to have to get out of the pocket, so, yeah.
Justin, on the 4 verticals play, Matt Eburflus told us the other day that when you see a cover 2 like that you're supposed to either check it down or run. That was like the rule for that play, but also it pointed out that like Mooney was open. Can you walk us through kind of the split-second decision that you would have to make in order to adjust from that instead of scrambling?
I mean, Mooney ran how we ran that play last year, so the number 3 receiver, if we get that coverage, he would take the middle of the field last year, but this year we're getting over to the other side of it, like it would be 2 out of 2, and then just hitting that same landmark from 3-by-1. But that play, that coverage, most likely thinking, you know, one-on-one with the back check down, and of course me scrambling. So I was just doing what I was told.
Do you watch that safety 48 or whoever it was? Is he determine where you go with that?
Yeah, just depending on who chooses, but it's just that play. You know, you have a lot of plays, and that play when you get that coverage, we're most likely thinking back, check down, and then of course there's a wide open lane, 3rd and 8, so I'm gonna go get the first down.
Within the game, what were some of the positive moments that you picked out of there and said, okay, this is something that we can take forward with us?
Yeah, I thought throughout the game, there were some plays where the O-line did a great job protecting. I mean, I didn't feel anything on some play action passes, and then just, taking those and just taking the positive runs we had, the positive explosives we had, and, just trying to build on those.
Has the play action game been as successful as you thought it would be, just in terms of what's called and how it's being executed?
I think when it's called, it's, we're pretty good at it, so, yeah.
Justin, with concussions kind of in the news this week after what happened with Tua last week, when you see him take a hit like that, does that make you think a little bit more about protecting yourself? And then, as a guy who's kind of famously played through injuries and pain and stuff like that, what's the balance between, wanting to play through stuff and then also wanting to protect you?
I think a head injury is different than, a physical injury. I think that's like a totally different aspect. But, yeah, I think at all times you have to think about protecting yourself, for sure.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Justin Fields, just kind of talking about basically how he feels this offense is going, how he feels he's being impacted, and how he's seeing things on the field. I really like when he breaks down kind of like his feelings on the plays that work and the plays that don't work. You heard him talking there about the play action. He said, I feel like when we run the play action, we're pretty good at it. It's something that we can hang our hat on. It's something that we can feel good about, right? Like, I think that you do want to see more of that, especially with the run game that the Bears have shown, right? Like the Bears are now known as the team that's going to sell out on the run. What does that mean? You're going to have times where those guys blitz. You're going to have those play action opportunities, and you can attack that blitz pretty much right over the top. Right now, the question mark again going to be how often is Justin Fields getting pressured? I believe ESPN put out the stat last week that on his dropbacks, he was pressured on 48% of it. I think PFF put it out as 51%. Either way, 1 out of 2 times Justin Fields was dropping back, he was getting pressured, and that makes a big difference. But I think, right, that play action is something that you can get working. You want to get that underneath target there, and that's tough to do if you've got commit blocking. But I think that, right, like that play action is so big for the Bears' success because teams believe that you're running it every play. Teams teams believe that no matter what, we understand what their strength is. They've run for 246 yards, 282 yards, 200, right? The Bears have run for 200 yards multiple times. This offensive line has done a really good job run blocking, but at the end of the day, it's just not how you're going to get down the field. And I think the interesting thing that he brought up, right? And I want Bears fans to kind of go back and look at things outside of the scope of just last week. Yeah, last week was bad, 100%. Shouldn't have lost to the Giants. Very winnable game. Got to get in the end zone. You got down in the red zone 4 times and you didn't get in the end zone 1 time. That's bad, right? It just is. But the Bears have scored touchdowns this year. It's not like last season. It's not like when Matt Nagy was here. The Chicago Bears have scored multiple touchdowns in a game. Chicago Bears have had games where they've had 3 touchdowns in a game, right? Like, it's not the same as it was under Matt Nagy, where it was kicking a field goal every single week, where it was kicking field goals every single drive down the field, or not even getting to the point where you could kick a field goal. I think the Bears only punted twice in that entire game versus the Giants, right? So like you look at things, and to me, I'm looking at those and I'm saying those are improvements for the Chicago Bears, and let's keep building on that. As you head into Minnesota, let's keep building on that. If you get into that red zone, you got to finish it off. The one thing that I can say about this Bears team, right, is that while the growth may be small, I am seeing growth. It's not huge growth every week. It's not giant steps every week, because you don't have the talent right now to take giant steps every week. You don't have the talent on this team to take leaps and bounds every single week. Maybe when N'Keal Harry comes back, you'll get a bit of a shot in the arm because he's going to be able to come out and be that big body receiver that everybody thought he was going to be out of college. But you don't have the talent on your team currently for you to take these leaps and bounds steps week by week, right? Listen, even teams that maybe do have the talent don't have that ability every week, right? Trevor Lawrence 2 weeks ago, dominant, looked like it finally clicked. Boom, here we go, drop back, making a pass, killing it. Last week, Mr. Fumble-Rooski, what did he lose 4 fumbles during the game, right? Like, so football's a game of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of weeks where there's good. There's going to be a lot of weeks where there's bad. There's going to be weeks where we feel great about this team. There's going to be weeks where we feel terrible about this team. Welcome to a rebuilding season. You knew what was coming. Welcome to another rebuilding year. We knew what was coming. Is it going the way? I swear, and I've said this, right? Like, I'm not saying that I look at Detroit and I say, hey, like, that's where I want, or that's not the offense that I want to see my team have. But I mean, bro, like, I swear people really just want to see 45 points on the board and a loss. Which, yeah, I mean, listen, it would make me feel better about Justin Fields. It would make me feel better about this offense, but it doesn't make me feel better about the team. My goal at the end of the day with this Bears team, and yes, I do want to see a good offense before it's all said and done, but my goal is to see this Bears team be a consistent winner. How do you build a consistent winner? How do we get good on both sides? How do we grow on both sides of the ball? How do we find good players on both sides of the ball? You got to get that talent in here. When the Bears are finally able to find that talent, I think that you will see them take off. And yeah, I know there's a lot of people that may begrudge how Ryan Poles handled this offseason, but I'm looking at, okay, we've got a baseline here. Can we be mediocre? Right now, we've been mediocre. You've been the epitome of mediocre. Literally 2-2, running the ball crazy well, still can't pass. You've been the Bears. You've been the Bears. Takeaways, running the ball, mediocre passing game, below average passing game, some weeks well below average passing game, some weeks not even going to the passing game, some weeks middling. You've been the Bears. Now, how do we build on that? Because the last couple of years, we weren't even the Bears. We were just a team that was like, drop back, throw it. There's no time. Doesn't matter. Throw it. Put it up there. So it's about finding a way to continue to take steps in the right direction. And here's another week to build off of it, right? You're going up against Minnesota. You're going into this week definitely as the underdog, right? And you have to figure out, I think the one thing that the Bears have to figure out, and the most important thing, is tackling. Defensively, they got to figure out how to tackle. Last week didn't look as good at all defensively. The defense probably looked the worst that it's looked the entire season, but in previous weeks, I've said this multiple times. The players know what the play is. The players know where they're supposed to be. Nicholas Morrow's calling out plays. Roquan Smith directing guys, get over here. You're going to this gap. You're going to hit him. He's going to be right there. Boom. Hey, you get here. He's going to be in the C gap. Hey, Jalen, play up. Eddie Jackson, you cover this, right? Jalen Johnson. Like the Bears have known where they had to be. There's just been a deficiency in tackling, which leads to what? You're talking about, again, a deficiency in talent. Now, some of your guys that are supposed to have talent also were missing tackles. That's a problem that we'll talk about as well. But I think at the end of the day, right, the big thing that I really want to see from the Chicago Bears team is just, can you figure out how to make the simple simple? The Bears have got the complex down, which is wild to say. All these crazy routes that they try to put in and all these crazy defensive schemes that they're trying to, they've got that part down, but they don't tackle. Or when Justin makes some crazy play with his legs and he puts the ball up there, they don't catch it. You know what I mean? Like the simple parts of the game, the Bears are struggling to do. But the more complex parts, it looks like, hey, we know where we should be. We know what we should be doing. We just aren't finishing that off. And that's a part of the step. Guess what? That goes into talent. Guess what? That goes into development. That goes into playmaking. That goes into finding better players. And we'll see where the rest of this year goes, man. We're heading into week 5. I do have the Bears taking an L to the Minnesota Vikings. That will put us at 2-3. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm hoping the Vikings are just the Vikings again. They kind of have weeks where they do that, where all of a sudden, right, they're just the Vikings again. And it's like, oh, look, like they still can't play. I'm hoping that's this week because, like I said, the Bears were going to win a game. I said this coming into the season. The Bears were going to win a game they shouldn't have won. To me, that's the San Francisco game. They were going to lose a game they shouldn't have lost. That's your Giants game. I think the rest could be either or. But it goes a long way if you continue to see the growth that you saw offensively last week, this week. The worst thing that you could see coming into this week is you revert back. And I'm talking about play callers as well. I'm talking about coaching staff as well. You revert back to what we were seeing previously offensively. I think that would be the part that, to me, I would look at and I would be like, come on, dog, you got to do better there. Like, we got to do better there. So I think that, listen, Bears got an interesting matchup coming up this week against Minnesota. I don't know what I'm going for with score. I'll kind of waiting to see, who's playing, who's going to end up making it onto the field Sunday before I come out and give a score. I'll do that before the game on Sunday. But I mean, at a minimum, right? I'm excited to see, and there is still some excitement in me with the Bears. I'm excited to see how this team makes a step off of what we just saw. That's all this season is for me. Can you keep making steps? Offensively, we saw passes down the field. Fields hitting Mooney. Komet got involved a little bit. Can you keep making steps? That's what it comes down to. So it'll be interesting to see Sunday, man. I'll be back live. If any news breaks, I'll be live again today probably, or I'll be back live tomorrow breaking down some of the probably previewing a little Bulls and getting more ready for Sunday's game versus the Minnesota Vikings. As always, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in and rocking with your boy. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and if you're listening on the podcast side, leave a 5-star review. I do appreciate all the love that you guys show. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.